Alright, last night, as the last video I did, it just abruptly ended again. About the volume shutting down and the videos abruptly ending, I uploaded an upgrade to the phone about a week or more ago. I'm not exactly sure. It's when I did that test upload video where I was showing the rain in the backyard. Well, ever since then, that's when this volume has been going out, and that's when the camera is cutting off during the videos without me pushing the button. So I don't know what's going on. It has everything to do with that upgrade, which somehow is giving me some sort of downgrade. Go figure. But as I was eating some dinner last night, I popped in a movie and this logo came up, and I got to thinking about this moon symbol here, everything that we have before us, and of course it opened up to everything within Zechariah, and it just in a way that you just have to experience. So first, I'd like to go ahead and just simply read from Zechariah 5 again. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, or somebody just happens to happen upon this video, you need to watch a video series that I did entitled Elijah Fire. And then if you want to get to the point of where we are now, watch maybe video 9 or video 10. But here we go. Chapter 5, the book of Zechariah. I'm going to go ahead and read from verse 6. Pay close attention. And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "This is an ephah that goeth forth." He said, "Moreover, this is their resemblance through all the earth. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead, and this is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah." And he said, "This is wickedness." And he cast it into the midst of the ephah, and he cast away the lead upon the mouth thereof. Then lifted up mine eyes, and looked, and behold, there came out two women, and the wind was in their wings, for they had the wings like wings of a stork, and they lifted up the ephah from between the earth and the heaven. Then said I to the angel that talked with me, "Whither do these bear the ephah?" And he said unto me, "To build it in a house of the land of Shinar, and it shall be established and set there upon her base." Shinar, this base of Shinar, is the moon. We've already learned this understanding, the coded symbology of the story of Tower of Babel that was built in the land of Babel, built in the heart of Shinar. Shinar is root from a word for shining, which is root from sin, which is the Babylonian moon god Sin. And then many of you have seen us connect this further to Mount Sinai, the illuminated one, the shining one within the wilderness of sin. It's the mountain of sin. It represents this very same illuminated God. And he said unto me to build it in a house of the land of Shinar. So everything that we've learned with Shinar and the moon simply points us to the direction of what you're looking at now. We remember from the movie E.T. that our main character, Elliot. And I'd like you to think now what we have already been calling these world leaders, these current nations, these supposedly illuminated ones, these 10 nations that consider themselves false Israel. They're the elites, the Elites, Elite, Elliot. The boy's name is Elliot, Elite. Exactly what we've been saying for a year now. And everybody else calls them the elites also. So the elites are what? They're the elect, the elect, the elite, the select that believe themselves to be taken unto the moon. So when we see this woman in the midst of ephah, what do we know that it is? We know that it's the elites of the elect, the select that believe themselves to be the remnant of Israel, saved from this judgment. So Elliot is now Israel, the Elites, the elites. Now, we need to fulfill what the ephah is. And the ephah is multiple things. One, the ephah by name means darkness. 2, the ephah means also a dry measure of grain. That dry measure of grain is in representation of Israel itself, believing it to be the real wheat that is separated from the tares. If the tares are to be burned, that's a fulfillment of Rev 13, verse 13, that fire from the sky, the deceptive fire that's to come upon the city. Well, to escape what they bring about the earth, the nuclear fallout that's going to accompany it from the power plants going offline, they go to the moon. Well, there's the moon, there's the woman, and then there is the ephah basket. The basket on the front of that bike fulfills the ephah perfectly, and I'm going to show you that. It's darkness, it's a dry measure of grain, it's also considered, guess what? A cup. What I've been telling you, what does my drawing tell you? That the second cup is coming from the moon. And I'm going to show you perfectly how this ephah also means cup, container, basket, dry grain. Everything about what we're learning is right there in that logo. So if we've got the Lites going to the moon, being lifted up, obviously the bicycle, okay, the two wheels, the two women, the bi is double, and then it's the two women that lift up. I mean, the bicycle fulfills the bi, the double, the bicycle that lifts them up. The bi, the double, the two cycles concerning the two cups, it all fits. So next we have our little character E.T. E.T. Inky. E.T. Inky. You get me? You get me. I know you do. This E.T. is now, and he said, and behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead, and this is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah. And he said, this is wickedness, and he cast it into the midst of the ephah. So not only do we have this woman, but we have the wickedness that is cast in the midst of the ephah with her. And that would be what she is bearing to the moon as this woman in travail. And so then we get the famous word from E.T., phone home. So he is going to this home, Babylonian sin god, to be brought about as the king of this world. After this fire that they bring from the sky that comes from the moon, they plan on coming back with him in all of this glory. So incredibly enough, it's all there. It's absolutely all there. Now, let me show you something that will give us the truth here. We gotta remember that they are hiding from us on the moon. They're on the dark side of the moon. Now they're becoming more bold. Amateur astronomers are catching with their technology all sorts of crafts flying in and out of the moon's newly formed atmosphere. When I say newly, I would say within 100 years. But they're starting to be more bold. But in reality, the real base of Shinar is on the dark side, because that's the reflection of what they believe to be the shining one. But in reality, they still hide in the shadows, because it's all a deception. It's all a secret. So even though they believe this moon to be the shining one, because they're living a huge lie, they still have to hide in the shadows. So they're on the dark side of the moon. Ephah, personal name meaning darkness. And then we would go down here and we see an entirely different Hebrew word with a different first letter lies behind the English ephah as a dry measure of grain. Now that dry measure of grain, as I told you, they believe themselves to be the division of the wheat and the tares. This is where they're going. Ephraim is going to be planted in a pleasant place while he brings his children to the murderer. That's going to be Hosea chapter 9 verse 13. So listen how crazy this gets now. It describes this ephah as a measure. It describes it also as a cup. And it says here, it is 1/10 of a homer and equal to 1 bath of liquid. It is also to 10 omers. Thus, it is about 40 liters. Now, it equates things in both a dry measure and at the same time both a liquid. This would be the fulfillment of Enki as being Lord of the flowing waters, and they being the fulfillment of the dry grain that he is going to feed, as it states in Zechariah, have enough information to make precise estimates. Estimates place it at about half a bushel. So this ephah measure that equates to 10 omers, that equates to 40 liters, in reality, it equates to half a bushel as well. What is a bushel? A bushel is a basket. Half of a bushel basket? Well, that's one half. The wheat, the false wheat that believes it's being divided from the tares, which are going to be the peoples of this world that they seek to destroy. Half a bushel, because there's been a division, so it would be half. The division of the wheat and the tares, it's all there. It's all there. So it says the vision of Zechariah of a woman sitting in an ephah basket contains the imaginative images of visions, for any ephah would be far too small for a woman to sit in. Israel was constantly warned not to have two ephah measures, one to buy, one to sell. Regardless, friends, I do think that everybody can see this perfectly now. The Elites going with the ephah basket. It's the division of the wheat and the tares, the dry measure of grain. There they are going to Shinar, and then they're bearing this Enki, this ET. And then, as you know, the ET is considered an extraterrestrial. Terrestrial means earth. We know that this being is supposed to come from out of the earth, and now we see he is going from out of the earth to an extraterrestrial location known here as the moon. He's even more of a terrestrial than we are. He's supposed to be this shining one, this illuminated one, this new man, this golden man that makes him an extra of a terrestrial, or more of a terrestrial than we ourselves are in his eyes. It fits in every way. It fits in every way. So I'd like you to just look at the drawing and remember that I didn't know 90% of what I know now when I first uploaded this drawing over a year ago. There is the cup. There is the cup right there. There's the cup falling from the moon. Okay? And I should read this to you real fast here. Symbolically, talking about an ephah, symbolically a measure, this is coming right out of the Bible here, symbolically a measure or a cup. Right there where it says symbolically to the left, a measure or a cup, stands for something which has come to the full, so that God must judge. Now, what does she come to the full with? It's that woman in travail. She's come to the full with her great work, which now translates to great labor, which fulfills, work is labor. But the labor that we're talking about is the woman in travail, false Israel, that is about to birth this being from the spirit world into the material domain. And it all is there. It's all there. As I've said, that the second cup, I call it the cup, it's coming from the moon. The Bible confirms that the ephah is this measure known as a cup, a basket, a container, a vessel. And then we see the references with the liquid, and then even the references with the dry grain, which would be the wheat separated from the tares. And I tell you, I hope you guys see all this. The name Amblin, it's a Steven Spielberg logo. It comes from one of his 1960s movie. If you view the silent 1960s short film, you will see that it's encoded with the very same things we're talking about. Everything about it. Now there's a spin in this encoding, because in a sense they're using this to teach their initiates, but nonetheless you'll see that that movie entitled Amblin for 1960, produced by Steven Spielberg, is coded to the core. They're trying, this young, promiscuous couple trying to reach this paradisical beach, if you get my drift. Nonetheless, I'll be back.